Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Kabir Considers. In this video, I'm going to react to the don'ts of AMTRAK travel in the US. Now, this is actually quite an interesting, and to be honest, it's probably going to be quite a useful video for me to watch because, you know, here in the UK, we take the train a lot. Like, even if you drive, which I do, like sometimes it's just easier to get the train from city to city. For example, for me to drive from London to Birmingham, it will take me about 2.5 hours. Whereas on the train from London Euston Station to Birmingham New Street, it's literally about 1.5 hours. So you can actually save time in some instances. And I've got no real knowledge about the train system in America. And as America is somewhere that I'd like to travel through at some point, you know, I think it'd be useful if I start learning about the train system and, you know, what to do and what not to do. So yeah, this should be a great video. Let's do it.
Hey there, fellow travelers. Mark here with Walter's World, and today we're here in Mystic, Connecticut. We're at the AMTRAK station, about ready to head off to Boston. But what I thought I'd give you today are the don'ts of traveling with AMTRAK, or the don'ts of traveling by train in the US, okay? Now, there's two kind of overall themes with my don'ts in this video. One are the don'ts for when you're on the train, and one set is the don'ts that you should know just about AMTRAK in general and booking and things like that. And I'm going to start when we're on the train. And the first don't I have for you when you're on the AMTRAK is don't pretend like you're asleep in order to take up 2 seats. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten on a train here and gotten on an AMTRAK and everybody's asleep. I'm like, dude, it's 10:30 in the morning or 11 o'clock in the morning. There's none of you that are sleeping. The sun is blazing through. You have these beautiful views out the side. There's no way everyone's asleep, but people will pretend because they don't want somebody sitting next to them. Look, don't pretend like you're asleep because people already know you're not asleep, okay? And the thing is actually the trains, especially if you're in the Northeast Corridor and stuff like that, they do get pretty full, and so they need those seats. So just know that no one's gonna believe you're actually asleep, okay? So put your feet down and do that. Now, if there's nobody there, you know, feel free to take a nap and do that, but honestly, you'll be fine. Because my next don't for you is when you're...
Yeah, I think that wouldn't fly here at all. Like, it just wouldn't fly just because the trains are so crammed anyway. Like, people aren't going to care. They're not going to stand up for like an hour just so you can sleep peacefully.
You're on the AMTRAK trains, okay, and you're getting your tickets. Don't think that the coach class, the economy class, you know, kind of tickets equal economy class seating in an airplane. Look, on the trains, on the AMTRAK trains, you've got a lot more space, okay?
Nice.
You don't necessarily have to sit in business class to get tons of room. It's actually quite nice in that way that, oh man, I can actually spread out. I don't get smushed. I can put, I mean, I'm a fat guy, and I can put the tray down and work on the tray in economy as well, or coach class too. So don't worry about that. Now, another thing with that seat next to you, another don't is, don't put your luggage in the seat next to you, okay? The conductor will come by and tell you, hey, don't put your luggage there. Put it above your seat in the overhead compartment, or put it at the end of the carriage. There's a place for luggage there a lot of the times. And the thing is that luggage rack above your seat is way bigger than what you get in an airplane, so you've got plenty of space when you're there, okay?
I guess that one is maybe people are scared to lose their stuff. You'd rather have it next to you.
So don't feel that you have to put it there because they'll probably ask you to move it. And kind of another don't I have for you with those conductors, don't disrespect the conductors. I found the conductors that go through the AMTRAK trains have been very friendly, very helpful, very informative with stuff, and they help you out. They're more service-oriented than the AMTRAK kind of brand is associated with. Like, look, those conductors are nice and helpful and kind of stuff, and AMTRAK doesn't always have that same connotation, but they are. So don't mess with them because they can throw you off the train, okay? If you're causing problems, if you're being disruptive and things like that. So just have a heads up for that. Another thing is when you see the conductors come by, you'll see at your seat, they'll poke a little ticket. They'll ask, hey, where are you going? Or they'll check your ticket, say, hey, where are you going? And they write it down on a piece of paper and then stuff this little piece of paper above your seat. That indicates, one, that someone's sitting there, so you have your seat kind of saved, and two, it says where you're getting off. Because my next don't for you is, don't think that AMTRAK announces the stops.
What?
Look, if you're going to be coming into Boston or New York, yes, they will announce those stops. But if you're going to smaller places like Mystic here, they do not announce those stops.
But they should.
What they do is the conductors know where people are getting off based on those tickets, and they go through and let you know, hey, just so you know, the next stop is Mystic, okay? So don't take down that ticket because that's how you know where you're going, but it's also how they know who to let know what stop is next.
Right. I don't know. I still kind of think it'd be easier just to announce the stop that you're approaching. If the train's going to stop anyway, it'll take you, what, 5-10 seconds to announce it? Tops.
My next don't that goes along with that is don't assume that all the doors open on the trains at every stop. Look, we're here in Mystic, Connecticut. I mean, this is a small platform. They only open like 2 or 3 doors when they stop here. The train has like 20 doors that comes through. Make sure you don't ignore the conductor, because they're gonna come through before and say, hey, just so you know, this stop, if you want to get out, you've got to go, a train up or two train cars up to get out on that door on the left or the right or whatever, just so you know, because otherwise I've seen people that are like, hey, why won't the door open? I'm like, they're going to leave without you. You got to make sure you get to that correct door. That's why don't take down that ticket, because it helps them know where you're going to get on or off, okay? So that also leads into another don't of, don't ignore the conductor when you get on, because they might indicate, hey, you're going to get off at Mystic. You're going to want to get in car 5 or car 6 or something like that, because that's going to be closer to the one where they let off, and that helps kind of like mitigate too many people in one spot, or you having to run through the train to get your stuff there. So, just
out of interest, how many of you guys watching this video, regularly take the train? Like back when I was a paralegal, I'd get it every day, but now it's quite rare. Let me know what you guys do.
Oh, there's that. Well, we'll let the train go by. So the train that just went by, that's an Acela. That's the fast train here in the U.S. that goes from Boston down to D.C. You can take that. That's like our probably fastest train here in the U.S. It's still not super fast, but it is faster than a typical kind of train. Has less stops. Obviously didn't stop here in Mystic. So you might have, if you're going to go to a smaller town, you might get a regional train or something like that. Okay. Now another don't that I have for you that relates to these faster trains and stuff like that is, don't expect the trains to be like in Europe or in Japan or stuff like that. I mean, that was the fast train, but even the fast train here is kind of like a regional express in Germany or someplace like that. So do have a heads up with that one. Now, the thing is, the US is very large, okay? So you're gonna be on the train for a while when you're going places. What's cool is, don't forget to bring your plug. Look, most of the AMTRAK trains actually have plugs next to the seat, and not just one that you have to fight over with the person you're sitting next to, but they give you 2 plugs. So there's a plug for each person that's there, and that's really cool. Also, they do have Wi-Fi on a lot of the trains, so I mean, don't expect fast Wi-Fi, but they do have it on a lot of the trains, so you can stay connected and stay charged up, so when you get to Boston, like we're going to, you can have enough juice in your phone that you can have the kids play on the phones and the iPads, but you can still take pictures too.
How much is an AMTRAK ticket? Like, I know this is like a how long is a piece of string type thing, but say you were going from one end of New York to the other end, or one end of a state to the other end of a state. Like, how much are we talking? Like $100, something like that?
So that's kind of cool. Some other don'ts I have for you is, when you're getting on the train and you might be a little hungry, don't expect a culinary masterpiece from the cafe car. Look, it's a train.
Yeah. And
the only thing they have to cook with is a microwave, okay? Now, you know what microwave cooking is like. Yes, there's plenty of food and drinks to have when you're on the train, but you're just not going to be too happy with the food and the quality also. And also, it's a little pricey too. So don't forget to bring some food with you when you do come on, some drinks and some snacks and stuff, because it will make life a little easier and a lot cheaper. But I will say is, don't bring stinky food, okay? If the food is overly stinky, they might say, hey, you can't eat that here. I mean, I would hope they would say that, because it can be pretty gross, because, ooh, Limburger, your Limburger sandwich, that can stay at home, okay? Oh, but I will say, sometimes you do get a surprise at some of the good stuff that's on there. For example, I took the Vancouver down to Seattle train. It goes down to Portland, Oregon too, and they had Ivar's clam chowder on there. Oh my God, it was so good. I'm like, wait a minute.
I've never tried clam chowder, believe it or not.
This is amazing. And it's on a train? Yes. So they do have some stuff that's okay, but I just want to give you the heads up for that. Oh yeah, going back to our Limburger stinky cheese sandwich, another don't I have for you is, don't take your shoes off if your feet stink. Look, it's like farts. you know if your fart stinks, you know if your feet stink, okay? So if you know they do, don't take your shoes off. It's kind of gross, but you know what? I understand you want to take your shoes off, and it's okay, but if they stink, just don't do that. But I will say about the barefoot stuff or no shoe stuff, don't walk around with your shoes off or barefoot on the train.
You might step
they actually
on something.
ask you to put your shoes on when you're walking around because of safety purposes. But what I think is most important is don't go into the bathrooms without your shoes on. Oh my God, I see people going into the bathrooms with socks or bare feet and they're walking in there and I'm thinking,
no.
We're on like a 4-hour train ride and trains go like this sometimes. So people are peeing and they're standing up and it's shaking all around. That's not water on the floor, okay? Even my 7-year-old goes, Dad, that's not water. I'm like, you're right, Liam, that's not water, okay? So please, don't forget to wear your shoes when you're walking around, all right? Now, another thing a lot of people have asked me about is about assigned seat or seat reservations. Look, when you book with Amtrak, none of the seats are reserved, okay? So it's unreserved seating. So you're coming and you're looking for a seat. So if you're coming and you're getting on after a busy station, you might not get to sit in that.
The station's really grand. It's nice. Kind of reminds me a bit of London Victoria Station, but apart from the like the signage, the font
next to your person, because there are no reservations. But I will say, when you do book, if you're going to get a sleeping car, well, those ones do get kind of a reservation kind of thing, depending on what car you sleeping car you book. So there is that, okay? So what I want to go into now are some of the overall don'ts of riding Amtrak, and things you should know. And one is, don't wait to book your tickets, because the closer you get to your departure date, the higher the prices go and the seats do sell out. Because even though they're not reserved seats, there's only a certain number of seats they can sell on a train, and so there might not be tickets left. And if you want to go in business class or in a sleeper car for like Chicago,
seats,
New
right?
Orleans or something like that on the City of New Orleans, you do need to book those earlier, so you make sure you get that. Another don't I have for you is, don't think that riding Amtrak equals a cheap ticket. So I was looking for tickets from New York to LA, okay? So you can fly there or you can take the train there. One's like...
You can get the train from New York to LA. That's literally like all the way through the country, right? That must take a few days at least, because that's got to be, what, 2,000 miles? Something like that? Oof, I'd love to get that train journey though. That would be amazing.
Like in 5 hours, and one's in, almost 2 days. And the thing is when I booked early and I got like the economy super saver thing, it was like $250, something like that.
That's not bad.
If I went first class, it was $1,400, and that was booking like a month out. All right. Don't think it's going to be cheap. That's why if you're going to be going long distances, you might want to compare maybe a flight versus Amtrak, just so you know. But the thing is, if you're going short distances, like from Mystic here to Boston, or where I live to Chicago, a couple hour train ride, the prices actually are pretty cheap, so that's kind of cool. It's just for the really long distance ones, don't expect it to be cheap. But I will say is, don't worry too much about your baggage when you do go take Amtrak, because you can take 2 big suitcases with you, no problems. They're not as strict as the airlines kind of stuff. Also, if you want to check bags, yes, you can do that. You can check up to 4, I think is the rules now, and that's cool. And what I'm going to tell you is, if you need some other extra time, don't be scared to ask for red cap service.
What's that?
The red caps are the people that help you get on the train, get off the train, and help put people's luggage on the train and stuff like that. They do have that. So I know if I've seen people that have used that, and if you got too much stuff or you're moving, or
I'm guessing this is for a fee though. They're not going to do it for free.
or you just got tons of things, or maybe limited mobility, let them know, and the red caps will really help you out. And at some of the main stations, they actually have a luggage area where that comes out and stuff like that. So if you don't want to deal with your luggage on the train, they can do that for you, which I think is really cool. Now, when you're booking tickets, I know I already said don't wait to book, but there's some things you should know. One, don't forget to look for discounts. So you can sign up for your Amtrak rewards, or maybe you have some kind of discounts that are on there. There's discounts for kids or seniors and stuff like that. Do check those discounts, because they can save you some money. Also, I know I said the long distance ones can get pricey, but in the shorter distance ones, a couple hours, 3 or 4 hours, don't be scared to look at the difference between the business class fare and the coach fare, because actually sometimes it's not that much of a difference. And I've actually booked up because I'm like, man, for only an extra $20, why not? And that's why you.
But I mean, what do you get though? Like, do you get a meal included? Do you get, I don't know, like free stuff? Like, because I mean, like, even if it's only $20 more, if the service isn't that much better, is it really worth it?
You'll see some of the videos on here, there's a first class stuff because, you know, at the time I'm like, hey, why not take that? Now the last two don'ts I have for you are more of a more serious variety. One, don't always expect Amtrak trains to be on time. This isn't, you know, a European train system where everything runs like clockwork. So do have some leeway in your schedule for a late arrival. Now I will say this, some lines are really good. The Northeast Corridor, you know, the Boston to DC lines, they're pretty much on time. They're pretty good, okay? But if you're going, you know, across the country, I know like the lines from Chicago, we take, it seems to be always delayed. Just know that that's not uncommon, okay? So make sure you're planning that window. Don't be like, oh, we're gonna take the train. It says it gets in at 3, and then I could take the L out to the airport in Chicago, which is about 30, 45 minutes, and then we could check in and we'll be there just fine because we'll get there 3 hours before our flight. I can't tell you how many students I've had that have missed flights because the train to Chicago was delayed and then therefore they missed their flight because they cut it too close. So just give yourself extra time if you are doing that. And the thing is, you can go online and see how on time your line is because they keep all that stuff. I think it's like a 90-day rolling window of like how's our on time ratings been, just to give you an idea. So have a heads up for that. But don't think all are late, but just be prepared in case it is, because you might end up getting in late at night to some place and things like that. And my last don't is kind of a safety thing. One thing is, don't expect every single station to have a station. Sometimes it's just a little kiosk, like a little shelter or something like that. I mean, heck, the Mystic, Connecticut station.
We do have these here too, where there's no real stations. It's kind of like a little, like you said, like a little stand almost with the name of the station or the location and then the actual platform.
That's actually a coffee house, okay? There's no board up there, there's nothing like that. So don't expect to have a station. And I guess to go along with that is, don't spend too much time in the station before or after your train's coming through, because I've seen actually, not here, but like in Boston and Chicago and stuff, in New York, I've seen a lot of beggars that have been going through, and some are aggressive, some aren't so aggressive, but it is one of those things you do want to take care of. But it's nothing really bad, it's just something to have a heads up for. So I hope this helps you know a little bit more about taking the train in the US. It is great. I mean, we do it quite often. I mean, the views when you go through, sometimes you're like, man, you want to ask, hey, which side should we sit on? I know when we were coming down from Vancouver, they're like, oh, sit on the right side going down because you can see the water. I'm like, would I want to see the mountains? No, you don't see the mountains when you're coming down that way. You see the water. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And so you do have that. Anyway, I hope you have a great time taking the train.
Genuinely informative. A lot of good nuggets of information there. It does seem on the whole the experience is quite similar to what we have here in the UK and in Europe, perhaps with maybe not as like the dependability of the trains being on time is maybe a bit lower in the States. But on the whole, the experience seems really similar. Like, aside from the fact that you guys can get a train from literally, New York to LA, which is like getting the train from London to like Russia or somewhere like that. It's just a crazy long distance. But yeah, I really want to try and try an Amtrak train just to see what it's like compared to what we have here in the UK. It does look pretty cool though. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.